It's so nice to have you come and visit again. It's our community, and as you know, it is my pleasure to introduce all of you out there to our wonderful neighbors. They all live right around us, and what they do that we wouldn't suspect that they do, and how wonderful it is to live where we live and have the neighbors we have. So I'd like to welcome Elizabeth Baddeley. Hello, Elizabeth.
Hi, nice to meet
It's
you.
very nice to have you. And do you remember that old program where they'd have people and you had to guess what they did? Do you remember that? Well, I won't make you guess. I'll tell you that Elizabeth is a children's and young adult book illustrator. She just paints wildly. And she said, I'm quoting you now, she said, "I was always surrounded by beautiful children's books when I was a child, and I never really outgrew them." That's wonderful. I'm inspired by the world around me because there are interesting stories everywhere, especially the things we tend to think of as mundane. And I just think that's wonderful. That is just something we should all aspire to as far as thinking goes. And you said that you're booked, and she really is, because she's very busy as an illustrator, but she also teaches illustration at the Kansas City Art Institute.
I'm taking a short break, but
Are you taking a short break?
yeah.
Well,
I'm actually not right now.
I would think that you would have
yeah.
to. What kind of students do you have there in your class?
Well, they're all illustration majors.
They're majors in the field.
Yes, so I taught in the illustration department, and so I mostly taught sophomores, so that would be their first year in the department, and juniors as well.
And you know, an artist who does paint, you know, an arty artist whose paintings hang on the wall, they're interested in focus and all that. Do you teach that kind of thing? Because most illustrations are sort of flat. Mm-hmm. I mean, what do you teach them besides, because they can already draw?
Well, for example, the classes that I taught, they can't always already draw.
Oh, really? Oh
yeah.
Dear. That's big news that you have to
can always practice more.
Yeah.
There's always room for improvement when it comes to drawing. But so I took actually a life drawing class, so just the figure. Sometimes they actually don't get that in their first year there, the way their foundations program is. So we make sure they get all their foundations their sophomore year. So the sophomores, I taught a drawing class too. And then another class where I taught them like different materials to use. And so we experimented with like screen print and watercolor and collage and just like different techniques, because they're still pretty young and starting out. So they're trying to figure out like what materials they want to use and what style they want to explore. So
but
sophomore year is a lot about
that's
that.
good because you can shape them a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Still. Yeah.
Or just give them the chance to experiment,
That's
because
right.
once you graduate, it's hard to do that.
Well, and you know, I would have to submit to you that in looking at some of the things you've done, style is a very interesting thing. And I would like to show you some of the different styles that Elizabeth uses, and it's all the same person. You know, with an artist who draws pictures for the wall, who paints or whatever, their style becomes part of them, and often you can identify the work by just looking at it. But I can't do that with you.
Oh, really?
So look at this one. This is The Good Fight, the feuds of the Founding Fathers. Isn't that wonderful? And that's Benjamin Franklin.
That is
John
Adams and Thomas Jefferson.
And look at this. I just think that's wonderful.
Thank you.
And the illustrations in here are not in color. They're in black and white. But they go all through the book. So they have to, the reason I chose this is that they have to learn lettering as well.
Some of them do. I do that a lot. Oh, I'm sorry. I do that a lot, but not all illustrators do. It just happens to be an interest of mine. Yeah.
Okay, there is one. Here's another one. And I like the title of this one, I must say. Murder is Bad Manners. And see, there's another illustration. That's a whole different style. And I was telling Elizabeth that when I was young, long time ago, I used to read the Nancy Drew, and I'll bet some of you can relate to that, the Nancy Drew mystery stories. And they were a quarter. And I would buy a Nancy Drew mystery story, and you said that this is?
It's very similar. It's two girls that go to a boarding school in England. One is actually from China. She's kind of a foreign exchange student, and they solve murders. I would just say crimes, but they're all murders.
They're all
And
murders. Well, we
it's
have to
the
have
first
a, we
in a
have to have a
series.
murder to spice
First in a
it.
series of 5, and they are in different locations. One, they're on the Orient Express. There's another where they're in London, but very similar to Nancy Drew.
Okay, here's another one, and this is entirely different too. This is a coloring book, and it's they can buy all of these books if they want to at Barnes and Noble. Carry them. Who carries
Not
it?
the coloring books. The coloring books, the main place to buy those is the Made in KC stores in
Made in
Kansas
KC stores.
City.
Okay.
I also sell them on my website if you
Okay.
can't find them.
And the website is
ebaddeley.com.
okay.
So
And I also see Winstead's down there, and that is an icon of Kansas City, and it's just full of Kansas City. Well, there's another one. I can't get the page turned. Sorry about that. There is the fall ball.
so that is baseball and football. Because of copyright issues, I don't use like Royals
Oh,
or
I
Chiefs
see, I
anywhere.
see. I was
So
gonna
it's
say,
just
so-
generic, and you could color it in whatever colors you want.
In
so.
whatever colors you want.
Yeah.
And they're the footballs for the same thing. We are definitely a sports town. But you see, the style that she does for each of these is entirely different. So I couldn't look at something that you brought today and say, oh, Elizabeth Baddeley did that, because you change styles. And that's important, I would think. So if you want a Kansas City coloring book, the Kansas City stores have them. And would Barnes & Noble carry the other stuff?
Barnes & Noble typically has the next book you're going to talk about.
Okay.
The other two are not as popular, so I would say
They could order
anywhere
them,
online,
perhaps.
Amazon,
Okay.
IndieBound.com.
Okay. All right. I would like to know, because I'm saving a good one for my favorite for the next to talk about. But how do you get chosen to do this, to be the illustrator? What happens?
Well, different ways for different people. Once you are ready with your illustration portfolio, ready to get jobs and out there, you make a website. So people can discover you on your website. You can also send postcards to publishers with your work on them. That is...
so often you don't know the author and they don't know you.
I definitely don't know the author. I exclusively work just with the publisher. The publisher contacts me. The cover of the Wells and Wong, The Murder is Bad Manners, was one of my first books I worked on. And the editor of that knew me and hired me for this next book. And so after a while, people start to get to know you. You know people through other people. If you worked with a publisher on one thing, that same publisher might hire you for another. Now I actually have an agent that all the work comes through her. So far I've been really lucky that people have come to her, but if I wasn't busy, she could go out there and promote
Hustle,
me.
as they say.
Yes, exactly. Look for projects that I'd be good for. And yeah.
Do you, now let us assume that you have been hired to do the Feud book with. Do you see the story first?
Yes.
And what do they send you? They send you a copy
They
of
send you a manuscript. It's usually not totally complete, but pretty close. They send you the manuscript before you even say yes or no, kind of the manuscript and like the budget, and then you can decide based on those, and when they need it by too is also important. So you get to read it and see if it's something that interests you, and then you.
So you
get to
can
work.
turn things down.
Oh yeah.
Depending on how bad you need the money.
Yeah, and I have sometimes you'll get a manuscript that is very far from being finished, and the publisher is just really trying to sell it,
And you can't tell.
and so you don't really know when it's going to be finished or how it's going to shake out. So we've turned things down and been like, come back to us.
When you have a
meaning
little
my
more to
agent and I.
show.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I understand that. Well, how do you decide what the character that you're going to draw should look like?
Well, so
if it's not some character that's well known, I'm talking
yeah,
about.
so like for the book cover, those are fictional characters, but they're described in the manuscript quite a bit. So I kind of went by what the description in the book said. And then I give sketches to an art director, and the art director can kind of shape what they see from me, if it needs to be. I remember she wanted me to make the girls much cuter. Like I didn't make them cute enough to begin with. Or
well, you can do that.
But yeah,
you know, it's really interesting because the facial structure has a lot to do with it. Because I remember that I worked on the statue of Lewis and Clark that's down on Clark's Point downtown, across the street from the right there by the club. I forgot the name of it. And when Sacagawea was, it's a bronze outdoor sculpture, and when the maquette was done, they sent it to her tribe, and the tribe said, her facial structure is all wrong.
Yes.
She doesn't look like we look. So they had to redo her whole face. And I'm sure that way you portray, even though they're cartoonish, the way you portray these two people, John Adams and Thomas Jefferson, they're recognizable still.
yeah.
But when they're not, then you have to come up with, and do you talk to the publisher? You talk to the, do you ever talk to the author?
Not really.
Really? That's interesting.
Yeah. Actually, those two girls, that's the only example I have of characters that are not real. So those were the only ones that I really had to come up with what they looked like. But yeah, once a writer sells a manuscript, they kind of have to understand that it's not, a book cover is a different story, but with a picture book, they kind of understand that it's now just 50% their book. You know, it's half the illustrator's book and half the writer's book.
Also, when you illustrate a whole book, you have to change the facial expressions on the characters. And I think maybe it's time for me to show you this one. This is Descent. And this is very current because there's a movie out, RBG. There's a movie in the theaters about Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And Ruth Bader Ginsburg makes her mark. What age reader are you aiming for?
For this book, I can't remember the technical age range, but I would say it's good for kids as young as like 3. My friend has a 3-year-old that loves having it read out loud to him. You know, up to, you know, I know when you're older, picture books are maybe not as appropriate, but I think even as old as like middle schoolers could appreciate it. I know a lot of adults that like it as well, just because she's such a wonderful.
Well, she is. She's 85 years old, and she's still going strong, that old girl. She really is. But I wanted to show you what she goes through. Now, let's take a look at this illustration. And this is Ruth Bader Ginsburg as a child? Okay. And you, she was reading, I don't know what, but she was certainly an avid reader.
She was actually a big fan of Nancy Drew. And
was she?
That is actually Nancy Drew in the far left character in the floating.
I can relate to that. I read them all. I thought that was just wonderful. So this is the final product.
Yeah.
And I would like to show you what we go through to get that final product. And I'm going to go backwards here. This is the final. Now, what do you do with this? This is the one you decided on for the book.
Yes.
So what happens to this now?
So that is actually a print. The way I work a little bit by hand and then also a little bit digitally. So I'll do a lot of the line work and some of the watercolor, like her face and the books, by hand.
This is watercolor?
Yes, watercolor and pen and ink, and also a little bit of, I guess, digital collage, you could say, is the easiest way to explain it if you're not familiar with the programs.
Okay. And this is, we had to get her face because she is recognizable. So she started out as a youngster, and look at the progression of age as we go along. And you just have to keep trying. You don't always hit it the first time.
Oh, no. And so those are all the faces that appear in the book. I just needed to see them all together on one sketch to make sure that they all went together. Well, she's really recognizable now. No one really knows what she looked like as a little girl, and there's very few pictures of her as a little girl, too.
Well, so you did use a little imagination.
Yeah.
Did she see these?
She has definitely seen the book at this point, yeah.
And she was pleased with the illustration?
Yeah, I think she really likes it. We actually made a promotional tote bag for the book that she received and carries everywhere she goes.
Oh,
So,
I think that's wonderful.
yeah.
Now this is the same set of pictures, only colored. You have narrowed this down to 12 now.
Well, and actually those came before the other ones. These are illustrations of her, a lot of them done from photos. Not all of those faces appear in the book. That was part of the process I went through to kind of just figure out what her face was going to look like. I just had to draw her over and over and over again.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then, I mean, this is not an easy deal, I want you to know. Here's another set.
Yeah. Just trying different techniques and styles and colors.
Uh-huh. And as you look at these, did you like these better than some of the others?
Some of them, but not all of them. I mean, sometimes I'll do a study for an illustration that I love, but it just doesn't work in the book as a whole.
So you have to, and because all you see is a script, that's hard to know. When you say it doesn't work into the book as a whole, what does that mean?
Well, as I start to sketch out the whole book.
Oh, in sketches.
Yes.
I see. Okay. Now, here is another sketch.
That's actually the final art. So I think I changed her face, but that would be the final art that I would do and scan in and then add the color digitally. So that's
Okay.
what it looks like before any of the digital coloring.
Okay. So this was the final sketch, but with no color, and you changed the little girl's face.
Yes.
Ruth. How did you? It's hard to have a tooth missing and not have her look strange.
Is the tooth missing in the final art?
It's missing here.
Is it missing in the next one? Because I
we'll
might have
see.
taken it out.
We'll see.
I always like to have a tooth missing because kids really lose teeth, and they lost teeth, for all of time. Yeah. They always make me take out the missing tooth, but I always try to put it up.
There it is. The tooth is Gone.
I just feel like it's something that all little kids can identify
Yeah,
with.
but it's awfully hard to have a tooth out and not make them look kind of odd.
Sometimes kids look odd.
I know they do. But this one then, what did you do with this? Do you send this to the publisher?
Yes, I send them everything digitally.
Oh, digitally? Okay. Well, while I'm here, I can just show you some of the others, and all of them have been created essentially the same way. But it says, Ruth objected. And then there's another one farther back, Ruth disagreed. And I noticed, I think there was an article in the paper about her dissent. She was very upset over the recent statement by the Supreme Court over the rights of workers and the rights of, and she was really upset about that. Okay, now her face. You didn't like these.
Not quite right.
See,
Pretty scary.
it's scary.
They
is
want to scare
scary.
the children.
That's worse than the no tooth.
I like it.
Well, sometimes this is probably the way she feels about something.
But we didn't want her to look mean because it's not a mean thing. It's not spirited.
It
it's
isn't.
A
It shows her as a jurist who has been at it for a very long time, and whether you agree with her decisions and her point of view or not, she has, I think, done her job as best that she knew how. Okay, here's another one.
First one didn't work, so I did it again.
Yeah, here's another one. I mean, this is not.
And I did it again.
I did it again. And
I didn't even send all of these to the art director. Some of them I did it, and I'm like, that's not going to work, so I just did it again.
Okay, now here's one. This is kind of interesting.
This is I just did the face.
See, she just did the face. Does that help when you take the hair away and just do the face?
I just was getting tired of drawing the hair, and I knew that I could Photoshop it together, and I didn't have to draw the hair again.
See? So she's still working on it.
Yep.
Okay. We're going to get there. And then,
these were the ones that I used. I drew the
There
glasses
she
one
is.
time, copied them, just so I made sure that they looked exactly the same. Plus, it was easier for me to draw her eyes without the glasses.
and she has blue eyes. I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're like this. They're really nice color.
They're really blue.
Yeah, that's why I put her in blue throughout the book, except for when she's in her
Well,
robe.
that's kind of interesting. So now keep in mind that we've seen the faces that she liked, and this was the final, the I Dissent page. And I also read this collar that says where I dissent. She always wears that collar when she provides a dissenting opinion to the court. So that's her I dissent collar.
Yeah, the collars are really detailed and specific in here, but they're meant to be that way because those are real ones that she wears when she is, the one on the left was her favorite that she wears when she's in the majority, and the one on the right is her dissent collar.
Now, did you get pictures of those? Did you get pictures of those?
Oh yeah, it's widely documented, her dissenting collar.
Okay, you might want to look at that again because there she is with her dissenting collar and the one she prefers.
My favorite fact about her dissenting collar is it's actually a necklace from Banana Republic.
Is it really?
Yes.
I think that's funny. I didn't know that.
She just liked it, so I tried to find it online, but I couldn't.
Couldn't find it. Yeah. So you could wear an I dissent
yeah.
collar too.
Doesn't
You too could
want
dissent.
One? I want one.
I think that's funny. Now let me ask you this: clothing. Her clothing is a little easier, but when you draw a figure that is just a figure that you have conjured up, is the clothing important that you put on them?
Yeah, definitely. I don't draw a lot of characters that I've made up, but even still, like I'm working on a book about Abigail Adams right now, and there's no pictures of her actual clothes, so I do have to make it up. But yeah, it's super important to be historically accurate, especially in these nonfiction books.
So I'm assuming then you do research in now where do you go to find the information?
You know, I love when I can find a book with inspiration in the library. I do a lot of like online searches in the library, but more often than not, it's online, and I find it in weird places. Like I was having a hard time finding really authentic looking, you know, 18th century clothing for Abigail Adams. So I started looking at photos of colonial Williamsburg. So they're modern clothes, but, you know, made to be historically accurate. And so I found a lot of great references from people that reenact things. I found that to be really useful.
Well, I would suggest that in doing that, when you do something like for Abigail Adams or Thomas Jefferson or John Adams, there are a lot of historians out there and people who are interested in the history of that period. So if you make a mistake, you hear about it.
Yeah.
And so you have to be really careful. Yes. If you're making them up, that's one thing. But if you want to be accurate, that's another. Yeah. So you have to be most careful. Is there somebody in the publisher's arena that checks the accuracy of your... What does that person do?
I mean, they're basically kind of like a fact checker in a way, and I can't imagine that they would catch everything, so a lot of it does really fall on me. But if there's any question at all, they'll check it and make sure. And also, the author does get a chance to review the art in its final stage, and oftentimes they're the best judge of what's accurate or not because they've done so much research.
And they will tell you. Do you have to change things?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. And you don't mind doing that? No. No. Well, color. The color that the idea is to get people to stay interested in the book. And often the illustrations are very important in causing people to retain their interest. Is color important? The color that the dresses are, or the color that the background is, or the...
Oh yeah, and for so many different reasons too. Like I said, I put Ruth all in blue throughout. And I didn't really have like a symbolic reason. People have asked me why I've done that. But it looks great with her eyes, I thought. But also it kind of helps tie her together throughout the years because as she's changing, her face changes and she gets older. I still wanted the reader to make sure to connect that was her. So she was always the one in blue in each scene.
And it makes the book flow.
Yeah, it does. And also, like I always start out using more minimal colors, but you know, because they're kids' books, and also because they're historical, I feel like a lot of historical books can be kind of dull sometimes in color in the palette. So the publishers are always like, make them brighter. So
yeah, so that's interesting. No, I find that, and there's also a message to the books that Ruth Bader Ginsburg is a good example. There's a message to that book. Do your illustrations, do you keep that in mind when you do the illustrations?
Oh, definitely. One I'm working on sketches for right now, which is at the point where you really have to keep it in mind, because once you have sketches approved, you're kind of like on your way and you're just making art. But I'm working on a book about Billie Jean King right now, and we've got kind of like 3 underlying messages throughout. So I kind of have to keep those 3 threads in mind as I go, and you know, different pages connect with different ones.
And as you portray her in art, how do you do that? How do you portray her and keep the message in line?
Many drafts.
Many
I don't know. Yeah.
Well, see,
Yeah,
and it's not easy to do that.
Yeah.
People think that that's really easy, and it's not.
That's the hardest part, is making sure they look consistent and kind of keeping that message, as well as keeping their art just appealing to look at.
Because you have to get a hold of the message in order to be a good illustrator.
Yeah, it's the most important thing, I think.
Yeah, I think it is. So what is in the offing? You've said that Billie Jean King and
Abigail Adams.
Abigail Adams.
Yes. So I'm working on those currently, so they won't be out they'll be out fall of 2019, so quite a ways from now. But my next 2 books out, one is about Noah Webster, who created Webster's Dictionary, and how that kind of happened. That will be out this fall. And then I have a book about Anne Frank and the cat that lived with her in the annex that will be out in the spring.
And those, do you have a publisher that you work with more than others?
I have worked with Simon & Schuster more. I've done 2 books and then all of those book covers for the mystery series with them. But everything else has been with a different publisher.
So you're as busy as you really can be.
Yes.
That's why you had to take a little break from teaching. Yeah, well, you know, you get kind of up to your eyeballs in paint, I would think.
Yeah, and I was an adjunct teacher too, so I kind of had to keep in mind that, you know, my main
What would you
my main
like
role
to
is
do
freelance.
that you haven't done?
Well, I'd like to illustrate my own book for sure.
Do you have a subject?
Yeah, I'm kind of have one in the back of my mind working about swimming and being on the swim team in high school, and I'm toying with turning that into a graphic novel.
Well, maybe you'll have some time one of these days.
Yes, planning on it. When I finish these 2, I'm taking a little bit of a break.
Well, I just can't tell you what fun this has been, and
you.
I think that that you will really, and even though it's actually, I was going to say it's not an adult book, but it's really for anybody who's interested in these historical characters that she writes about. But Ruth Bader Ginsburg is now on the front burner because of the movie and because of the dissent that she just had in the Supreme Court and because of I Dissent, illustrated by Elizabeth Baddeley, who is, I must remind you, always booked. Thanks for being with us, and thanks, Elizabeth. It's been such fun to see what one of our neighbors does to make this community the best place in the world that we could possibly live. So keep right on slapping that paint on.
I will.
Thanks for being with us. You're just wonderful, and I am so pleased to say welcome back, and we'll be back again to see you and introduce you to another one of your neighbors very soon. It's our community, you know.